of the players and what heroes they've been playing, and I haven't quite seen a lot of weapon battles coming up from them, but it might just be a secret pickup on their side. And I know that weapon battle is just strong because based on rank play itself, I've met a couple, my teams have picked up a few as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see if Elite 8 or Nebulae will just bring out this weapon battle that, you know, NA and EU are just crazy about.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be one of the first picks, because that's what we've seen before. Yeah, maybe it'll be a last pick on B side or A side. But that is it for speculating. The draft is ready. So without further ado, we're going to head on into the draft.
So coming into this draft, like we mentioned earlier on, whether or not Pato will be picked up is kind of iffy, right? Because it hasn't quite found its way into the meta, or Southeast Asia at least at this point in time. So honestly, there are a lot of variations, or rather variables, that we can look out for. If the players haven't quite been training on this weapon battle, then it will be unlikely for it to be picked up. But however, on the side of Nebulae, I know if Trophies, or rather Trufflers, is playing, their dedicated roamer is playing, then definitely the Lyra will be prioritized. Else, it will be an open pick, because if Delphire plays and comes in to be part of the lineup or the starters, then we might see that of Lyra. If not, then Finn. Finn, very, very strong in the current meta.
Yeah, definitely. Finn is one of those heroes who's just kind of crept into the meta without having any buffs to him or any nerfs really to other captains. But he's extremely strong against any kind of dive. He's really good at protecting a backline mage like a Celeste or a Scarf. And so that's why he seems to have teams decide to want to play him more. But I do agree. I expect a lot more of the healers. There's definitely going to be Grace and Lyra pretty much banned or picked in most of these games. But obviously, we could see a Lance or Arden. There are other captains that teams have favoured a little bit more. There's been a lot more variety of captains in this patch as opposed to what we've seen previously. So that's really good, and it means that teams can really pick comfortably as opposed to having to just pick what the meta implies they should.
Definitely. That is one thing that I want to talk about as well. It's that the current meta is just so captain-friendly, per se. If you favor your CCs, your crowd controls, then definitely you want to go for that of Lance, ban out that of Catherine, or even just Grace. Grace provides really good crowd control in the early game. But of course, come to the and if you like your sustain, then of course Lyra and that of Grace will be prioritized.
Yeah, it is interesting how the changes to sustain, making Book of Eulogies worse and stuff like that, has actually made it so that the sustainable captains become far more important. And I think that might shift eventually, where teams realise that Lyra doesn't give as much sustain as you need, and so maybe you want to move away from compositions that utilise Serpent's Mask and maybe go into more burst. We could see, obviously, with the Slumbering Husk, it does make burst a bit less useful, but the problem with that is you're forced to build at least 2, sometimes even 3 defense items. Otherwise, your Husk is too easy to just proc, and so they just proc it with a bit of poke and then burst with something like Attacker.
Definitely. So coming out from the side of blue, which Elite 8 will be on, and of course on the side of red we have Nebulae. First ban coming out would be that of Glaive, and of course in response to that we have a Black Feather being banned out for the side of Nebulae. One thing I want to talk about really is the Black Feather ban. If they remove that of Glaive, then really they want to settle for a mage like that of Scarf, if not that of Celeste. Removing Black Feather from the equation, maybe you're expecting a Celeste being picked up, because you just don't want both of them to be on the same team. But I personally think Nebulae could have just done a slightly better job just removing a mage of their own. However, we know Trophies is a mage main, and he just does so well on that Scarf, if not then Celeste.
Yeah, I think the Black Feather ban was to tempt Elite 8 to pick one of their captains, and then Nebulae were going to first pick the Celeste. But Elite 8 deciding to switch their draft up and just first pick Celeste because Black Feather's banned is actually a really smart pick, and there aren't massive counters to the Celeste that are left open. So now Nebulae are going to try and deny Elite 8 as many captains as possible. They picked up their own Lance and banned the Finn. That is risky because there's still Catherine, Lyra, Grace, which Elite 8 will all of them, I think Elite 8 would be happy to pick. And the cooldown, that's just it's reasonably good against Celeste. There were almost no weapon power junglers left. Obviously, with 3 of them already being banned away, you're forced to almost go double CP if they're going to push that into CP Idris, or most likely we're going to see a weapon Idris with a CP jungler, maybe a Scarf or a Samuel to try and counter the Celeste.
Yep, that is for sure. But there is one thing as well. It's that Jewel. I've seen a lot of our players, the pro players of Southeast Asia, actually settling for the Jewel, picking up Jewel in their ranked games, in their practice matches, and actually run weapon Jewel in that of jungle. Granted, you do not have quite as much gold as when you are in that of lane, but all in all, it will kind of balance out because of the heavy plating. You are really good in jungle fights, and all in all, you are just so much more tankier. And talking about sustain-wise, you don't have the best sustain because your Book of Villages cannot quite convert or translate into tier 3 items. So a lot of players in Southeast Asia actually think that it's not a good place to put Jewel in, and that would be in that of lane. Rather, they would prefer it in the jungle. However, we do see a Lara being picked up by the side of by the side of Elite 8.
Yeah, they're going to go Vox. I was expecting a Kestrel. That Kestrel Celeste comp is extremely good. It's great poke with a Lyra, great sustain, and you can siege turrets, and at 15 minutes Kraken is ridiculously easy to take. But they want the Vox instead. Vox and Idris are quite similar. If they go for CP Idris, that's actually really good against Vox. But if that is a weapon Idris, then it's pretty similar. Vox can run away quite effectively. And I would, even though it doesn't seem to work that well with the Lance, I'd expect a Samuel. Obviously, they could go Taka with Lance Idris. They have a lot of dive. But we're going to see a Catherine last pick. So I was not expecting to see Catherine, obviously. Now, I don't expect Crystal Power Catherine. It's most likely to be either double weapon with a weapon Lance jungle and a CP Idris lane, a weapon Idris lane, or we're going to see CP Idris. What are you expecting or hoping to see, Luxurio, in terms of the Idris?
Honestly, if you were to ask me, just looking at the roster itself, we have Angry Die, we have, just Angry Die, just very comfortable on Lance. We had a little talk about it before. It is the Lance that goes Sorrow Blade into double tension bow. Yeah, so that is one thing that Angry You Die ran in the previous season. But with the changes to Sorrow Blade, or rather Tension Bow, I don't think that would be quite happening. But I think it's either... I want to see a CP Idris. That is one thing for sure. We have quite a low win rate. If not, then I think it was a 0% win rate if your team actually has got a CP
over last
Idris.
week. Yeah, last week it was 0% on CP Idris. It was actually 100% on Weapon Idris. So maybe that's just a quirk of how statistics work. I'm sure we're going to find out pretty soon whether they're going to go Weapon Idris or CP.
Yeah, but definitely I really like the team comp coming out from the side of Elite 8. They seem that they have got enough front line damage in terms of that Vox. I mean, Vox is considered range. It's considered range hero, but all in all, his range is pretty short, if you were to ask me. So they have got a Vox that can be in the midst of fight, and on top of that, the sustain of Lyra, and then you have a backline poke in terms of that Celeste. So all in all, looks rather well rounded for the side of Elite 8. However, the side of Nebulae, we have to protect the carry comp. Sandwich carry, protect the carry, just put out as much CC crowd control as possible. So that those impales, those stuns coming out from thin walls, if not then Catherine's. I think if execution wise, personally, Elite 8's team comp would be easier to execute, whereas the side of Nebulae, if they can properly just go into the back lines and ignore Lyra, ignore Vox, take out the Celeste first, then jump and switch attention to the Vox, then I think Nebulae would have the upper hand in that of late game.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more meta comp for Elite 8. Nebulae have got really stuff that we weren't expecting to see. I think it might throw Elite 8 off. It might be a little bit tough for them to try and react to this. The Weapon Lance will do extremely well against Celeste early on. He needs to get a block for the core collapse, otherwise he becomes pretty simple target to hit. And once he's done that, obviously, probably going to be a Sword Blade first. I'd expect to see Sword Blade into Tension Bow, and then probably another Sword Blade if he gets the gold for it. As Jungle Lance, that doesn't often happen. And there's probably going to be a lot of invasion from Nebulae, a lot of aggression onto the Celeste. And I think Idris will be most likely, if he's CP, just trying to farm up in lane, trying to get that equal range to Vox, so that in the trades, it will be pretty simple for Idris, probably with a Frostburn, to basically take Vox to slow him, then back off a little bit and get easy Chakram poke. And that will be pretty simple for Nebulae to win the poke war if they manage to dodge Helios. But I don't think that's the way they want to run their comp. It's much more likely they want to go for a lot of dive, a lot of just try and get on top of Celeste and hope that Lyra hasn't got enough heal. But we are into the fold for the first game, and we still don't know about Idris. He's gone for the Book of Eulogy start. What do you think about these the early game rotation, Luxury? It looks like we're going to see defensive from both teams. Were you hoping for maybe invade to go to the enemy mid-heal camp for one of these teams?
I mean, definitely, because if we think about it, the side of Nebulae have got such stronger invade comp in that an early game, because you have Catherine with a stun, you have Lance with a root, and even if you do not want to go in with 3-man aggression, you can at least just go in with, say, your Catherine. Like we saw Quarter 4 was on that Catherine, was very aggressive in that early game, but we might see a slight skirmish that will happen circulating around this Elder Triad.
Yeah, definitely both teams looking to try and either pick up the Triad, and it will actually be taken by Elite 8. Angry Dai going to get stunned by the core collapse, and that's a lot of damage, but he's quite tanky. He's going to be able to get away, and Official Hind will be happy to secure the Elder and get his own farm. Angry Dai not going for very aggressive start on this Lance. He's just farming up and then porting home and farming up again. Minion Candy used by Delphi. That's extremely smart because Idris has real tough time farming up in the early game, and now this Minion Candy means that Hunjägers will be completely unable to pressure him.
Yep, that is a very smart move coming out from Trophies right there. And that is one thing I want to talk about, is that I think Elite 8 didn't know who is actually the starting lineup for the side of Nebulae, because they pick up this Lyra. Granted, Lyra is kind of meta at this point in time, but honestly, I think they just wanted to just, deny Lyra coming out from the side of Nebulae, because we know as well, Lyra just does well in that early game, but not as good in that of the late game.
Yeah, and that was a nice poke from Elite 8, and they managed to back off at the perfect time, stopping Angry Dai from being able to get any damage on Hunjägers. Anime Save Me, though, does port home, so this is, and Hunjäger is actually going to port home as well. So really good rotation from Elite 8. They're just being very passive, very defensive, trying not to fight, not to get themselves involved in too much, and seeing if they can stop Trophies from farming up. Angry Dai needs to try and find something on this Lance. He's just going to port home again, so this is really going to be a CP interest, definitely. With Lance not going aggressive means they want to scale to late game. And so now it's interesting because late game is going to be very much a skill matchup between Official Hind and Trophies as to who can land more poke.
Yep, definitely. That is one thing for sure. But of course, as a CP Idris, you lack that mobility to actually enter the back lines. When I say you lack the mobility, it's because you just do not have that stun, or rather you do not have that what is that word called? That flicker thing that does.
Dash. And there's going to be an impale blocked by Anime Save Me. He actually picked up an early reflex block. He's going towards Crucible first item. We've seen this a lot on Lyra, to get you more healing on the Sigil as opposed to buying a fountain. And it saves his life. Nice poke from the Chakram. And yeah, so Idris, as you said, he hasn't got the dash on his Shroud Step, and Anime Semi once again will be stunned up, and that impale does connect, will be a first kill. That the Bright Ball was not enough to stop Angry Dai. First blood to Nebulae.
Yep, very well played then. They know that she kind of just expired her reflex block, and from there they just lurked around and just looked for the opportune moment to actually just jump in. Delphi though going in with a merciless pursuit.
Yeah, he's going to go in. Hunjäger's able to back away. Delphi just going to get one stack. He's on 4 at the moment. And Anime Save Me has respawned back into the lane and obviously has got his block available. So Angry Dai going to rotate to Jungle Shop. Can't quite pick up a full Solar Blade. But just work towards it. And I think that Trophies wants to shop pretty soon because he hasn't got his Divergent Paths yet. So it's really hard to farm, but not with a lovely Chakram like that. Double hit onto Hunjägers and bringing the minion wave towards him. This is good farming from Trophies, and he'll be happily able to support home for that tier 3 item.
Definitely. So looking at CS itself, we do see that Trophies is just farming slightly better as compared to Hunjäger. Hunjäger sitting at 36 CS, not exactly terrible, but as compared to Trophies wise, 53 CS. Granted, Trophies has been going into Angry Dai's jungle to just score extra farm.
Speaking of Angry Dai, gets stunned up by the core collapse, able to back away, and we're actually going to see a shadow much more similar to the North American style CP Idris, where they go pure damage and the stun from the Merciless Pursuit, not going to connect. Some poke does go out on Stealthfire. And Trophies has got full Shatterglass, so he's able to have those ranged basics. And if Hunyegas gets hit by the Chakram, it is going to hurt an awful lot. He's hiding in the top bush. Trophies going into Anime Save Me. Impale is blocked. Anime Save Me just about able to get away. So much damage on Angry You Die on this Weapon Power Lance. Still hasn't even got a completed Sora Blade. As you said, so the CS difference is interesting because Trophies is farming very similarly to Hunyegas, but he has taken away the back camps. Merciless Pursuit does land, so does the Impale. That is a dead Hunyegas. Buy yourself a block, son, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep, I mean, Angry You Die, he's playing relatively similar to when Cassandra was on that weapon crew, if I remember correctly. Very, very patient, and Trophies though.
Trophy's going to go in onto Official Heim, but he's actually going to be the one taking more damage, forced out by Delphire. And I'm surprised that Trophy's used his Shimmer Strike to try and get the kill on Official Heim. He just had to poke, wait for the Chakram, do the Chakram, and Official Heim probably would have fallen. But in the end, he's actually forced to back towards the jungle. And this is a free turret for Elite 8 because Trophy's is too busy trying to get jungle farm. So that is really helping the gold deficit Elite 8 were under. It's now almost identical. But Viper Walk and Sigil and Core Collapse all down though for Elite 8. Nebulae are very annoyed their turret has been taken and now they want to do the same. Angry will be able to secure this front hill most likely. And now Nebulae pushing their own turret and Jaeger's taking the poke from the basic attacks from Trophies. But actually Angry is not in lane. So this tier 1 turret for Elite 8 will remain standing. That is so much damage on Jaeger's. He wants to get away. The Sigil keeps him in the fight. Will it be enough? Sigil not up for another 10 seconds. Angry wants to go in. There is not a Crucible for Anime Save Me. And so the Impale will easily land and kill either Official Hind or Jaeger's. They're just going down so quickly if that Impale lands. He's actually gone Tension Bow first. So the heavy steel was just for damage. But Angry did actually pick up Tension Bow, and now Hunyegas is alone in lane. But Anime Save Me will rotate back up, and there's just the siege coming out from Nebulae. Official Hind could be in trouble. Could he get stunned up? Not twice. He bought a block, went down to shop to pick it up. Core Collapse does land, so does the Supernova, but still not that much damage. Angry with double defense already. Viper Walk baited out by Angry and Hunyegas forced to port home. But Nebulae not going to push the turret, just rotate to their own jungle.
Yep, that is one thing about the team comp that's coming out from the side of Elite 8. It's that they are so much better in terms of objective taking. And even Han Jaeger, if he actually does settle for that point shift in that early game, then definitely he'll have, more sustain as compared to Trophies on that CP Idris. CP Idris, as we all know from now, it's that he just do not do very well in extended team fights. Granted, you can poke from the back, and thus it explains why, the side of Nebulae just decided to go for 2 roam-like heroes when you have a lot of CC, so you can just lock one person down, and then you have Trophies to shoot out. Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to go in a little bit of poke on Anime Save Me. He'll actually... Twice the Core Collapse does be dodged by the combat well, and the wait for it does go wide because of that fantastic dodge by Angry You Die. One thing to point out is the CS was stolen by Trophies, but in the end, there's 2 items on Idris, one on Vox, one on Celeste, and one on Lance. Speaking of Lance, he's going to go with the Tension Bow. So much damage, piercing through all the targets with his Parsons technique. Delphire is going to have to boots away to try and survive. There is no 2-1 turret for Nebulae, but they are able to back off, and the Minion Candy was used by Anime Save Me just to help this lane push. It looks like both teams are actually going to back off. No one is going to fall, but Angry could be in trouble. He's under Sentry. Will that be enough? He dodges the Core Collapse and is going to use Healing Fast to stay alive. That's a lovely Impale. Double root. And Official Highness Mola is just on the back line. Easy killed him. Sentry. So will Jaeger's most likely to the Lance. Anime Save Me is the last one alive. Can he get away to his own Crystal Sentry? Yes, he can. So Nebulae get 2 kills. Will get a gold mine, but not the ace. So no turret.
Yep, that is a very questionable play coming up from the side of the 8. I mean, why would you even try to get onto Angry Die when you obviously know, granted he is going for that, semi-carry build where he has got a Sora Blade. Oh, Anime Save Me.
He's trying to be a bit sneaky and somehow will be able to get away with the Imperial Sigil. So Anime Save Me was a little bit caught out, but able to back away.
Yep, but my point earlier on was that Nebulae, granted he's going for the weapon carry build, but all in all, Lance has got a lot of, you know, just very, very thick, to be honest. Even when you build him as a weapon carry, because of the given wall passive, you receive directional damage reduction, I think, up to 40%, if I'm not wrong. And whoa, just look at the amount of damage coming out from trophies on that CP Idris. But there is one thing that I must commend Elite 8 on.
Just hold that point for a second. Anime gets bursted down, not able to use the fountain in time. He just gets deleted. No crucible for him. He actually had to use it earlier when he face checked the shot bush and got caught out. He used crucible, which means in that fight it was not available, and Nebulae just went in so hard, doing so much damage. And Hunyegers has only got one tier 3 item, one tier 3 damage item, because he's forced to build Aegis against trophies. And this is why so much damage is coming out from the basics, and this turret is going to be sieged down. Delphire is going to be just taking a bit of poke. The turret does fall, impale, lands, double, triple stun by Nebulae. There's the silence. Catherine's going in. Hunyegers will receive the fountain just in time. Nebulae was unable to get those basic attacks in before the silence ran out. And this will be most likely either a half-full gold mine or a sentry for Nebulae. I wouldn't be surprised if they just take gold mine. It's not completely full, but with one kill on official find, it might be worth it to bait a fight. And that was just so much damage and the triple stun from Nebulae. He misses the combat roll though.
Yep, he did miss that combat roll there, but it was triple stun into triple chakram coming out from trophies as well. A lot of damage that is laid down in just a snap of the finger, and even faster than you can actually blink. So honestly, what Elite 8 has to do right now, because like I said earlier on, I must commend them on their, you know, decision-making skills going into for the turret when they realize that, you know, they can actually just push a turret. Okay.
Delphire's going to go in with the stun. Bright ball was used. So it's the core collapse, double stun. This could turn around for a land on Nebulae. Take another. He's going to have to try and run it away. Combat roll not up for another 8 seconds, but that is 4 ticks on the chakram, taking both members of Elite 8 down to half health. They've got a Lyra now back to full. Nebulae on the back line. He misses the impale onto any of the carries, but Crucible was used anyway by Anime Save Me. And the Storm Guard from Delphire doing loads of work from alive. There's the engage from Elite 8. They want to go full cam onto trophies, but there's a double chakram onto Hunyegers and Anime Save Me. One more impale does miss again. Nebulae's in a bad position. Solar Storm comes through, but he's going to be stunned by Delphire onto Official Hind. Official Hind is full health with him, Eve of Harvest. So there's really no chance that Nebulae are going to go in. Fountain used by Anime Save Me to keep himself alive. Delphire is so low. He's got the echo up now, so this could be a really simple turret defense if he gets that double silence. No crucible for Anime Save Me just yet. Trophy's taking his Heliogenesis, and here's going to be the impale. There's the first blast tremor, easily going to connect. Will be a kill for Idris. There's the second one. Does not land on that Official Hind. He's able to put those Helios down. And now they're going to zone away Nebulae, but they still want to go in. Trophy's using healing fast. That's an impale. That's a dead. Yeah, he goes. Official Hind trying to run away. Core collapse does not quite connect, but Official Hind is still like full health. But Nebulae is going to try and be sneaky. Nope, he's just going to back off, and this will be a gold mine for Nebulae.
The build on trophies, that is one thing that we really need. I think I sense an urgency to actually talk about the build coming out from trophies. He has got double shatter glass going into a broken myth, so that is a lot of damage. But besides having a lot of damage as well, it's, you know, that is one thing, you know, without defense, and granted for a CP Idris, really and honestly, you just want to poke like a mage. You just want to stand in back lines, poke, and just put out as much damage as humanly possible as a CP Idris. But he is a very easy target if you consider, if, you know, Lyra, all Lyra has to do is just not Imperial Sigil, but at least teleport in, Bright Bulwark, trap trophies in it, and immediately follow after by Official Hind stun. If not, then Hunyegers silence. Then it'll definitely work out all in all. Remove trophies first from the team fight, then afterwards Elite 8 would have an easier time. But a lot of team fights, what we are saying really is, you know, Nebulae gets down to very, very low, but trophies half the time is just really, really healthy. So that is one thing that Elite 8 has to work on. I mean, looking at the kill death score across the board, we have 0 to 8, 8 being on Nebulae's side. However, the gold difference is as well 5k gold lead for the entirety of Nebulae.
Yeah, it's interesting what they're going to have to go for. Trophies looks like he is going to pick up the hallucinating current and not triple Shatterglass. I was kind of hoping, when I saw the heavy crit, I was hoping for triple Shatterglass. But it's interesting the point you're talking about there, because what they're going to do, they're going to focus on Truffy's, who now has 4 damage items, just completed, no defense, completely glass cannon. But then you've got a weapon Lance, who there's no defense for Hunyegers or Official Hein on the Lance. They have both got Aegises completed, but there's no weapon power defense. There's no metal jacket to try and stop Angry You Die, and so he's just going to be completely free to deal so much damage on the back line if he manages to land one Impale. Speaking of an Impale, there may be... Nope, not quite yet. Both teams just looking to poke. Hunyegers wants to run away to make sure that he does not take too much damage, but Lyra's actually got tons of heal, so much health. Hunyegers still down half health. There's an Echo on the Catherine from Mirthless Pursuit. No follow-up from Nebulae. And yeah, Lyra with this Slumbering Husk has so much health.
So much health indeed, and on top of that as well, it helps her to survive maybe 2 more damage or 2 more Charkrams coming out from Truffy's. Just looking at Truffy's build, you would think, following SEA meta, you would think that he'll settle for 3 Shatter Glasses, if not, like you said, if not, then at least 2 Broken Myth, because that is one thing that SEA likes to build, right? They like to stack a lot of piercing, and that is just, SEA meta all in all. I'm quite surprised he actually went for the alternating current like you mentioned, but I guess for the attack speed, if he does go in a 1v1 with Fox, then he might just come out on top. But granted, with the amount of burst that he has, you don't have to quite be afraid or be worried about the amount of damage that Fox can put up, because with 1 or 2 Chakrams you can just immediately remove Fox from the entirety of the portal.
There's going to be the engage. Official Hein going to go through the portal, but Angry dies on the back line. Official Hein taking a bit of poke, and the blast hammer was blocked by Official Hein, but not by Hunyegers. He's going to be out. He's going to be taken down by Lance. Solar Storm comes through and does a lot of damage. Truffy's is now very low with Broken Myth stacks falling off, and Official Hein's going to try and do a lot of poke, but he's only got 2 completed damage items as opposed to the 4 on Idris, so they have to be careful. Truffy's is able to pick up a possibly War Treads. No, he's going to get the block. That's smart. Really popping it. Catherine actually pops her infusion. So Nebulae with 1 kill onto Hunyegers is going to start up this Kraken, and MSAP is going to spot it, and there is a Imperial Sigil just waiting to try and steal this Kraken. Who's going to take it? It looks like it should be Nebulae, but 1 Sigil is going to go down. Pop! No, Idris manages to secure it, and now it's going to be Official Hein going down to Iron Gudai. Most likely they'll fire. Does get the stun, but Crocolaps is missed. It's a great dodge from Iron Gudai. The heal's not enough, and that is another kill for Nebulae. Official Hein will now not be up to try and defend this Kraken, which is literally almost all of Elite 8's Kraken damage is on that Celeste. But where are Nebulae? Like, sure, they've just left the Kraken free to be taken out by Hunyegers.
But I guess, Truffy's has to go down to shop, and
yeah, Hunyegers going to get stunned, but again, Truffy's isn't there, and now he's going to go in. There's Chakram. Boots used by Vox to try and run away. Official Hunt up in 7 seconds. Actually, the Slumbering Husk was procced by Angu You Die, and so now they're going to try and get 2 turrets most likely, and then possibly try and push for more, because Official Hind hasn't taken this Kraken down, so it's still at half health. But no, Nebulae going to leave a half health Kraken just to die to Elite 8, give them a bit of gold, and Nebulae wants to just take the whole jungle rotation away, including the Sentry. So that's pretty successful. 2 turrets and some nice kills for Nebulae there, pushing their gold lead quite nicely.
Yep, all in all, I guess, with Celeste gone from the equation, really Nebulae can just push a little more. And in fact, even if Official Hind comes back, what Idris really excels in is just go into the back lines and try his best to assassinate, because that really is his job, yeah, to assassinate an hero, because he is basically an assassin. Even with a CP build, he can actually just do that, but we saw the reluctance of him. He really wants and he counts on his entire team to actually land those CCs before he decides to jump in and throw out the Chakrams and just play like a mage. Like, he mains a mage, so I guess that is how he is going to play all in all, with whatever hero he plays. Because for all the team fights we saw, and if Elite 8 actually spots this out, that Elite 8 would have realized that as long as they can block out the CCs coming out from Nebula, then they can immediately jump on top of Trophies, remove Trophies, and then, just turn their attention back onto Iron Gryutai, Bright Bulwark, up there.
Yeah, and I said we're not going to have that for another 4 seconds. Iron Grudai does look like he wants to go in, but not too much. And Nebulae going to try and get some poke. There's Shroud Step from Idris, and he's going to go in onto Official High. And there's the first stun from Delphi. Blast Tremor easily blocked, but he's got the Echo. Second Blast Tremor comes down, no chance to block that. There's the Impale. So much damage is going to go down onto Hunyegas. He is going to fall. Duffy does dodge the less damage much as he can with that Shimmer Strike. Will be able to survive. The portal's not enough for Anime Save Me. He's going to fall, and that is the ace and the game for Nebulae.
A perfect game for Nebulae, and this is the reason I said earlier on that this will be the game to watch, only because Elite 8 has got a big fan base, yeah, like the entirety of Indonesia really just like Elite 8, but we have
all of Indonesia, everyone.
Yeah, there you go, all of Indonesia. But we have to understand this, and we have to be factual when it comes down to the teams. Is that Elite 8 hasn't quite shown performance ever since they got their spot in Worlds, right? I'm not trying to say anything right now, but Nebulae, they have a very robust team. They are a fusion of Artisan, which were part of Vainglory 8. They were part of Enix as well, and Enix as well, which were part of Vainglory 8. So there is one thing that we must look out for, and definitely it will be this match, because Trophy is. We've all known him to be a mage player. He goes on that Scarf, he goes on that Celeste, and he just performs so very well on those heroes. But then there is one thing as well, and it's that Iron Grudai and Delphi. Adding those into the equation just make Nebula such a strong and obviously the team to look out for.
Yeah, that was such a strong, almost dominating performance from Nebulae. 13 kills to 0, didn't take any deaths on their team, and I said that they weren't being very aggressive early on, but maybe that was just because Iron Grudai decided, I can wait a bit, I'll get my tension bow, work towards Soul Blade, and then they're just going to get deleted instantly because we know how to combo our CCs properly. And that is one thing I was really impressed by Nebulae, is obviously as a merger between two teams, they obviously don't have the same synergy and history that Elite 8 will have. Those three players have played together for ages, but Nebulae were just landing the CCs, chaining it together. As soon as an Impale would land, the shotgun would come at the exact point where the Impale landed, and so that's guaranteed burst from both of them. And you really, unless you have a Lyra to block it, or unless you block the Impale, you're probably going to fall there, because you just take so much damage, and then Delphi has Blast Tremor to try and stop Anime Save Me from being able to save you anyway. So that's really well played from Nebulae. They comboed properly, and Iron Grudai, as you said, was an extremely talented Lance.
Definitely. I mean, we've seen him play Lance before, and he is just so very strong, although I'm still looking forward. I mean, it was just one game where he built the double tension bow and one Sorrow Blade, but all in all, it's just whenever he plays Lance and he comes out with builds, it is just, he opens a forum of discussion between analysts, and whether or not double tension bow and one Sorrow Blade actually wins two Sorrow Blade with one tension bow. But all in all, very well played, going over to Nebula at least.
Yeah, well played to Nebulae, and now we're going to be thinking, what are these teams going to do in the second draft? But the draft is ready. So without further ado, we're just going to head straight into the draft.
So coming into the second draft, with Nebulae on that of the blue side, and of course you have Elite 8 on the red side. I guess that really just fits their entire theme for Elite 8. But if you think about it, do you think Elite 8 will just remove Idris away, or rather take Idris away from the side of Nebulae?
I think that's definitely a possibility, just to get rid of the Idris, because it wasn't first picked. Actually, the Lance, Iron Grudai's Lance, was first picked, so they could risk trying to pick it up themselves or second ban it. But I think the smart move from Elite 8 is just get rid of Idris. But they decided instead, we don't want to play against that weapon Lance. It was a bit too strong for us. Celeste, they're going to ban him with the Lance. And now, Celeste, I'd expect a Black Feather return from Elite 8. It's really the main counter to Celeste. And they obviously can't do the Idris Catherine Lance combo because they banned Lance away from themselves. I really hope Elite 8 decide Black Feather, and they do. So now the most likely ban is whichever captain they don't want. If they want to play their Grace or their Lyra, then they're most likely to ban Catherine or maybe an Arden to combo with the Celeste. Yep, they're going to stick with their cool ban again.
Oh, that is quite interesting, because in my head I was thinking they should just ban out the captain, remove two captains from the side of Nebulae, because Nebulae, as we saw from the previous match itself, they really, or rather trophies really just work around the CCs that, the captains are putting out there. Whereas, without the CCs, trophies don't want to jump in and be part of the fight whatsoever. However, we do see the Greys being banned out by the side of Nebulae.
Yeah, that is an interesting ban because we haven't seen Grace played, really. Grace wasn't banned or picked in the last game, but they don't want to play against it. They just want to second ban it away. So I would expect maybe Lyra, but Catherine possibly makes more sense to work with this Black Feather. Try and engage. In fact, if they want a dive comp, Fortress would make a lot of sense to second pick here. We haven't seen that much Fortress, but he is quite a strong doggy in the current meta. They're going to go with the Arden, so that's a protect the Black Feather and also try and stop Celeste being protected. And now there's really a lot that Nebula can do. We know Idris is a comfort pick. It's still open. Perhaps double CP trophies on the Idris, but we know Trophies really likes to play Celeste as well. So I think they're probably going to put that Celeste on Trophies in lane. Maybe put Angry Die. Well, he can't play as Glaive because that's been banned. Maybe we're going to see something like a Grumpjaw or a Jewel that you were talking about if they want to go weapon jungle.
Yeah, I mean, Grumpjaw Jewel would be good. If not, then I know it is far-fetched, but Angry Die, he can just play that Rona. He's kind of famous, or rather, to pick out very off-meta comps. In the previous seasons, a few seasons back, he's the first one that actually pulled out the Cruel when Cruel wasn't in fashion whatsoever. He was the first one that actually took Rhyme and Ozo out of their closet and just displayed, put it on the table and say, hey, guys, look, right, this hero is still viable. It's part of the meta. It's just conditional. But all in all, I like you said, it's quite open at this point in time. But for the weapon carries wise, where Iron Gildai actually excels in, it is very limited. We have maybe a weapon petal carry in the jungle. That is really not possible. But we will be seeing a Jewel, and we've seen a lot of Southeast Asian actually just adopting the meta coming out from East Asia, just putting in the Jewel. But instead of throwing Jewel into that of lane, they prefer Jewel to be in that of jungle.
Yeah, most likely to be a jungle Jewel because Iron Gudai definitely will excel more on the Jewel, I personally feel, and Trophies is certainly a comfortable on the Celeste. And so they're going to go Samuel straight away. I think that's going to be a jungle Samuel against Jewel. Samuel does work quite well against Jewel. It's not a counter pick because Jewel just has to face you and not run away, and then your Madison verdicts are guaranteed to be directional, going straight towards her. So that's easy to get Jewel's heavy plating to block that. And I think this is going to be a quite aggressive composition from both teams because Jewel isn't a poke hero. Even though the Thunderstrike does have quite a lot of range, Jewel is very engaged and dive someone and burst them down. Arden does well to combat that with a barrier. And similarly, Black Feather is all about engage and burst someone down against Celeste, but Lyra's got a heal to try and counter that. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting how the teams play it, whether one side is going to be more dive heavy and the other side is going to be more poke heavy, because both the dive heroes have got poke themselves. So it's definitely possible that we're going to see a lot of stalemate where both teams are just trying to poke each other out. And then someone dives in, but the Lyra has obviously got the upper hand if the fights go that way. Because obviously with a heal, that means that after the poke, Lyra's team's going to be full health, whereas Arden's team aren't. They're just going to get a temporary barrier.
Oh, how we love just stagnated, just show of power in terms of poke. How we love that as casters. But all in all, I must say the Samuel pickup is definitely a comfort pickup coming out from the side of Elite 8. Well, whether or not Samuel will do well against that of Jewel is just down to the amount of early aggression Samuel can put out. Because let's all be honest, right? Samuel do not scale as well as that of Celeste into that late game. And in the early game, if Samuel just do not fully capitalize on his power spike, then Samuel will fall off so hard against that of Jewel, Lyra, and Celeste combination. Whereas, I mean, honestly, once again, I must favor the team comp coming out from the side of Elite 8. Granted, I like the team comp then, but it didn't quite work out for them. But in this way, you have Black Feather that can just dive onto trophies in which they lack in the previous game. So what Black Feather can do, dive onto trophies, remove trophies. Granted, there will be, the foresight that Jewel can come in with that stun But all in all, you will still be protected. You have a roast offensive charges. You can roast defensive out in and out of the fight, and you have Arden, like you said, to provide a little more sustain, and of course just defense and barrier. But of course you have Samuel coming out from the side of Elite 8 as well, which is very good in sustain. So in long-term team fights or long extended team fights wise, Samuel will definitely come out on top in the early mid game. And of course you have but like you said, you mentioned before, it's that Lyra is there to provide extra sustain as well. But we saw earlier on is that you really build a lot of health on that of Lyra to actually provide any sustainable sustain for your teammate.
Anime Save Me has decided that he's a laner and he wants to get the first 5 CS for himself. That's very interesting rotation from Elite 8. They've decided to put their jungler and carry together, and they're going to go for this Elder Tree. It looks like Official Pine is most likely to be able to secure it, but it's actually Hun Jaegers, I believe, was able to pick that one up, and yeah, he does secure the Elder Tree. So what do you think about Anime Save Me just going to lane and getting the first 5 CS for himself while Hun Jaegers got ambient jungle? Was it not more effective gold-wise for Hun Jaegers to go to lane and get that CS for him?
I mean, we saw this ourselves in the previous week. Yeah, I think it was week 1. And we saw Anime Save Me did the same exact thing. Immediately just rush into lane, secure 5 CSs for himself. And then, I mean, that way, there are pros and cons with that. One of the big pros is that you just accumulate a big wave for, your carries, or rather, for the enemy team. That way, your wave can just push in almost immediately, hoping the enemy can just miss a couple of CS that way, and you put a lot of pressure as well. So I guess there are pros and cons, but of course cons, like you mentioned, I think the cons outweigh the pros. I personally do not think it is at all a good strategy, but if it's working out for Elite 8 in the first week, then I guess it will work out for them all in all in the long run. But, as compared to the other rotations that are readily available,
Delphi could be taking a lot of damage. He's going to use the healing flask. Will it be enough? No, it will not. Arden able to secure that first blood. He's really going to have a very quick fountain with a bit of CS and that first blood bounty. He was going to rocket leap up into lane, try and help save this turret. It looks like Elite 8 aren't going to push the issue too hard. And there is a little bit of CS lost for trophies. And one of the big problems with that rotation where your captain pushes the wave up is when your laner goes to lane, the wave is then pushed. And so if Celeste is waiting for you in the bush with maybe the rest of the team, you're in a terrible position when you're trying to farm because the wave's under their turret, so they're just going to be able to kill you. But luckily for Elite 8, they had Anime Save Me in lane with Hun Jaegers when he tried to clear the wave. And so he was able to back off, and it turns out Celeste had actually rotated to the jungle instead of trying to push the lane. So Hun Jaegers is now ahead in CS, and they're a little bit ahead in gold, mostly just first blood ahead, because the Elders were very, very even between the two teams. I think it was 2 for Nebulae and 1 for Elite 8. Now Elite 8 wants to try and push the wave. Actually, they're probably going to get a little bit of damage on the turret, but not considerable with those minions blocking Empowered Malice and Verdicts.
Yep, and this fits the agenda for Elite 8 at least, because we saw that, one of the big pros, like I said earlier on, and you reiterated, is that, your wave is pushed out. That way, if all 3 members of your team are in lane itself, then you can easily just push down a turret, in which Elite 8 is definitely notorious for. They are one of those teams that are super tunnel vision into objectives if they are going to go for this particular rotation that we saw coming out from them. So that way, I guess all in all, it fits them throughout. And like we saw, trophies sitting at 33 CS, and of course Hun Jaeger 38 CS, definitely benefiting that of Elite 8 in terms of CS wise, and of course objective control. We saw that, we are seeing right now that the turret of Nebulae is just down to half health.
Yeah, it looks like Elite 8 are definitely doing well with their turret seed. Help that, Anime Save Me, pick up Candy. IQ Dice can rotate out to lane. But I think there's definitely a CS lead for Hun Jaegers over Trophy. And that isn't just because he's taking some of the jungle, because Official Hein is even on CS with Until You Die. So the wave pushing that Elite 8 are doing is definitely helping out their CS, and obviously, as you said, the turret down to about half health. But level 6 is available for almost everyone, all the carries, but not quite Jaegers. So it looks like Elite 8 don't really want to fight up against Trophies, because Trophies is 6, whereas Blackfeather's only level 5, so we can't dodge the Core Collapse, can't dodge the Rocket Leap, and Elite 8 just trying to poke out, but both teams doing well. Thunderstrike does come down. There's the big red button. There's not quite going to do a lot of damage, actually, from Jewel. Actually, just a little bit of poke when your weapon, and Blackfeather going to be forced to use the Healing Flask just to keep himself nice and healthy, but both teams just going to back off.
Yep, and that is one thing that we mentioned as well before the game actually started, and is that the mono sustain coming out from that of Nebulae. But we realized as well it's that Official Hind earlier on just got down very, very low. But the fact is that Official Hind, the Corrupted Genius perk, just keeps him relatively healthy throughout. And we saw the immense poke that Official Hind can put out in that early game before Celeste actually gets to level 8. And I must say, I agree with you that Handjäger don't really want to find that fight there, as we saw the Core Collapse coming down, immediately just stunning Handjäger. And if Celeste then actually reach level 6, then definitely Celeste can just, Core Collapse and then throw that of the Solar Storm into Official Hind's face.
Yeah, and Jewel is actually not there in the lanes. Poke on turret. Core Collapse dodged by the Faint of Heart by Blackfeather there, and he's going to go for Trophies. Stunned up by the Jewel. So much damage was put out onto Jaegers, and Trophies survived with a sliver of health. Fountain puts him back to half. Official Hind going to take a lot of damage from that Solar Storm. And Angry Die with the plays to keep Trophies alive. Hellfire Fountain was obviously perfectly timed, but Jaegers seemed like he had an easy kill onto the Celeste, but Angry Die came in with the Rocket Leap, stunned him up, loads of burst to force him to back off, and in the end, no one dies.
Yep, definitely Nebula will be playing for that of late game. They don't really want to push at this point in time, as we can tell from how they are playing. Even Celeste at level 7 earlier on, or even level 8 earlier on, they are still playing relatively passively. Like you said, it will be a very stagnated game all in all. We have only 1 kill throughout the board. It's very, very similar to that of first game as well. They are not all concentrated about getting as many kills as possible. Instead, they just want to farm up. And of course, farming up wise, like I mentioned when draft started, is that Nebulae definitely would have the upper hand.
Yeah, definitely. Nebulae seem to definitely have the upper hand. 8, because obviously they're slightly behind in CS compared to Official Hind. It does look like both laner and both teams are hyper farming their laner, because Angry Die has picked up almost no CS in the last 4 or 5 minutes. So yeah, Elite 8 are definitely trying to get Jaegers up to as strong a position as possible. He can pick up Breaking Point and possibly an Infusion now, so this is a good time for Elite 8 to fight. If he does, no, he actually can't quite infuse because he bought himself a bit more defense. So Official Hind did pop an Infusion, and there's a 1.5k gold lead for Elite 8, which is just due to map pressure really. They've been able to take away some front camps and some healing camps from Nebulae, whereas Nebulae have just been on the back foot. But I do expect that to start turning around now. Celeste has picked up an Infusion and is level 9. This is a good time for Nebulae to start fighting. Blackfeather hasn't quite got the defense he needs. There's going to be the engage. Gauntlet goes down. Core Collapse blocked, and Celeste is stuck inside the Gauntlet. What's she going to do? Going to find as much damage as possible. Angry Die's going to go very low, but Celeste falls first, and that's the Malice. That's the verdict. Takes out Jewel, and now Delphi left alone. He's going to portal over the wall, but there's a Crystal Sentry. He doesn't want to go past that. Going to be slowed by the On Point and by the Crystal Sentry actually. But Delphi is going to be stuck by the Faint of Heart. Easy kill. Ace for Elite 8, and it looks like this game could be going the complete reverse of Game 1.
Yep, definitely. And like I mentioned earlier on, Samuel, if you can work your early game, you definitely will be very, very strong. And as long as you're able to just snowball through and just put on a lot of pressure in the lane, you definitely would have the upper hand against Celeste. Yeah, and that was what Official Hind did. Exactly what Official Hind did. When in early game pressure in the jungle, when the sentries were up, he just immediately go on to lane, put pressure into that of lane, immediately take down the first turret, gaining Elite 8 a little more, objective control and map control throughout because of the removal of the first turret. And with that, excuse me. So with that, Official Hind definitely will be able to snowball this. And what Nebula can just do at this point in time, just just turtle up and just farm up till, you know, trophies get that, you know, broken myth, or sorry, not broken myth, but clockwork, so you can just put out so much more damage, and of course afterwards your broken myth. Whereas, you know, as compared to Official Hind, Celeste just needs so much more items to actually put out, you know, incredible amount of damage.
Yeah, there's going to be the gauntlet going in. It's not quite going to start trophies, so they're going to turn their focus onto Iron Greed instead. Atlas does land, and that is going to be onto the duel. Delphi is going to be able to boost himself away, but Trophies does not get the speed boost. He's going to be trying to survive. Most likely will not faint of heart to execute the kill. Once more, another ace for Elite 8. And they just have to start a fight, and it looks like they're going to win it. Anime Save Me can pick up an Echo already on the Ardum. And they just gauntlet in, and they just win the fight. Jewel hasn't got the defense to survive all three members focusing her, because Jewel has to target someone, so has to face someone. And then Elite 8 just surround her on all sides, and you can't have your you have to have your back face to at least one of the carries. That's really smart from Elite 8.
Yep, so honestly, Elite 8 in this game playing very, very well, and like you mentioned, it is basically a reverse of that first game. Even including in the first game itself, had Elite 8 just, you know, just stall a little, then they could probably just come back. And in the first game, what Elite 8 lacked was a diver, someone who can just go into the backlines, put a lot of pressure, and just dive the heck out of Trophies. But however, in this game, we see that Black Feather very relentless and just going in time and time again, constantly waiting for Iron Greed Die with that rocket lip. Once Iron Greed Die comes into the team fight, Oblivion just was put down, and Handjäger immediately just shoots for the back line, immediately trying to take out that of Celeste.
Yeah, definitely Official Hind taking a little bit of poke, but Iron Greed is also getting a lot of damage from Handjäger's, and he actually pops his Atlas, doesn't quite connect. But Jewel was forced to back off to the base, and this will be, I think, a second or maybe even a third Crystal Sentry from Elite 8. But Nebulae wants to try and defend this. They're moving towards it. Lyra's actually not going to go, but the Gauntlet does come down. Sentry defeated second time, actually. Jewel still gets stunned up by the Gauntlet, despite the Portal trying to save her. Forced to Rocket League very defensively. Trophies left for dead. No chance he's going to be able to get away. His team just deciding that it's not worth trying to save his life, but the Oblivion does come down. Atlas once again missed by Handjäger's, and Delphi is going to fall. Iron Greed will be able to back off towards the Sanctuary, and now Elite 8 are a bit stuck, but the wet minions into the turret, but they're not stuck, they're going for Iron Greed. The Verdict just barely missing with the Rocket League, getting Jewel away, and this will be a tier 3 turret for Elite 8, and yeah, as I said, it looks very similar to the first game. Flawless so far for Elite 8.
Yep, I mean, if Elite 8 actually just ends and closes game up with 14 kills, that it will be a replica of the first game, just in reverse. But all in all, very good team fight there. Trophies was isolated for the entire team of his own team at least, and afterwards Handjäger and Official Hind just jumped on Trophies. Granted, Trophies managed to pull out a Solar Storm, but all in all, it's just not enough damage just yet. Trophies settled for that broken myth rather than that clockwork. There are pros and cons all in all, but damage calcs wise, definitely the clockwork will come out on top, even if Elite 8 has, you know, shield build up. If I'm not wrong, I'm just referencing this from Excoundrel's video, and I'll just take the slide for it. Yeah.
Because it's likely that Celeste isn't going to build up 9 book being bursted, it is definitely would be useful to have the clockwork. But it looks like Handjäger is actually going to go in, and as the Vanguard tries over the Trophies building up 2, 3 broken mist stack. Tor Collapse is blocked by Black Feather. He's still got a road defensive to try and go in further. There's going to be the Gauntlet, but the portal is to get Celeste away, but she's too slow in walking through it. Handjäger's follows, and that is a double for the Black Feather. Jewel's going to try and port home, will be able to, and Official Hind actually tried to take the Crystal Sentry, but is far too low to do that. And now what are Elite going to do? There's really nothing for them to take. They just took Goldmine. They just wanted 2 kills because why not? Handjäger's going to boots towards his CS. It is under turret. And Elite 8 needs to save this turret or else it will not be a flawless game. You can't have a flawless game losing your tier 1 turret. And they survive it. So yeah, Elite 8 just probably going to wait for Kraken, bait a fight around Kraken, and then try and push for the win.
Yep, we saw as well Handjäger, like the team coming out from the entirety of Elite 8. One interesting common trait about them, the heroes that's picked out, is that they do not need a lot of items to put out significant amount of damage. Take Official Hind, for example. In the early game, you really just need the Frostburn into the Eve of Harvest, and you will be hitting like a truck in Drifting Dark. And as for Handjäger, honestly, you need your Serpent's Mask into Breaking Point, and bam, you can build all defense, and on top of the last item can be a Tension Bow, and you can put out significant amount of damage as compared to Jewel with similar item builds. So there's
I actually really like what Handjäger has done. He's built a Tornado Trigger as his last item. You were saying Tension Bow or sometimes Solar Blade is built. And the reason he's done that is because there's no Atlas on Delphire. He's had to focus on, well, Fountain and Crucible because they're so far behind in gold. And obviously Jewel and Celeste aren't going to buy any defense, so they're not going to get an Atlas. So you're free to put so many basics down. You're not countered by the attack slow. And this is just a free Kraken for Elite 8. There's not even a contest by Nebulae unless Trappies goes for the ult. But without vision, I think that's very risky. In fact, Lyra is coming with a sigil. Will it be enough? No. Blackfeather I managed to secure that with the faint part. Now they want to go into Delphire. There's going to be Handjäger's going in, portal away, but that's a free backline on you die. Delphire is going to fall, and now the gauntlet comes down. No block for Angry Die. He is going to fall as well, most likely to the Samuel. And now where is Celeste? Jägers wants to find him, block up the core collapse. They depart to dodge out the Supernova. That is another kill, but the Echo Gauntlet is actually jumped out by Jewel before they're able to catch him. And now where is Angry Die? He's going to do a very greedy port. No chance of getting away there. That'll be the ace. Arden picks up the kill, and I doubt that Delphire is going to be able to defend this, but actually Truffies will be up in time to try and defend this Kraken.
Yep, there you go. 14 kills. As long as Elite 8 is maintained with this 14 kills, then all in all, I guess it will be a replica.
I thought it was 13. I thought it was 13 kills at the end of the last game.
All right, then you know they overshot. You know they just played so much better in this game. And like I said earlier on, this is down to the lack of dive on Truffies, and Truffies honestly playing like a mage all in all, and he mains a mage, so all you really need is just someone who can get onto the backlines, remove him almost immediately in that of the early game, and bam, he is just basically not as useful anymore. Picking up a Jewel for their team, I would not say it's a bad pickup all in all, but Iron Gudai on that Jewel, or Jewel in general, just do not have the appeal like that of Lance or Glaive. So that is one thing that maybe Nebula has to consider going into the next game, going into the next draft.
Yeah, definitely. I think the B-side draft has been better from both teams. And it just looks like the Celeste first pick isn't a smart decision from either team. They both teams that have picked Celeste just have lost so heavily and so considerably that I just don't think it's a smart pick. Obviously, Blackfeather does fantastic against Celeste. That's well known about. Weapon Lance does very well against Celeste, and obviously you can't ban away both of them, so it's